Hello and welcome to a brand new series of the Lose Your Mind podcast, the podcast that's all about mindfulness with Alan, and
Hello, nice to be back for series 2.
it's nice to be back with you too. How have you been?
Yes, not bad, thank you. I have just enjoyed a little breakaway, which was pleasant by the sea. So that was nice. And I'm looking forward to recording series 2 with you.
Sounds good. And no doubt you've been busy with all your mindfulness work.
I have, yeah, I've been doing some bits and pieces, new things that I've been recording. And also I've been going into a couple of schools, which I've enjoyed. Which is quite timely actually, because next week I believe we are going to be interviewing my daughter around mental health.
Indeed, we are.
Because that's what we're going to talk about today, aren't we? Just how important mindfulness is in life in general, in all settings, and just the vast benefits to all of us. But I think people just don't have the understanding of how they can quite simply bring that in.
Absolutely. And that is what we're here to do. And it's to try and clarify what mindfulness is all about and how it can help in life. So if you tuned into the last series, our first series, in fact, we talked a lot about the attitudes of mindfulness and the kind of states of mind that you find yourself getting into. And it's really not about clearing your mind and having a mind empty and being blissfully zen all the time. It's a different way to cope with life, isn't it?
It really is, yeah. And I think gradually that message is getting stronger in the world, isn't it? That there are other ways that we can be and look after ourselves, and by doing so we get that peace that we look for. But it doesn't come instantly, does it? That's the thing. It doesn't. You don't just sit down or practice mindfulness and instantly everything's okay. It's a tool, a way to work with even the difficult things that we face. Mindfulness, we can bring to that and just have that awareness around anything at all, without all the judgment and the pressure, and just be with it a bit easier. And in life, that's important, whether it be training for a marathon, just getting up to go to work in the morning, even having a shower. You can bring mindfulness into everything, can't you?
Literally anything, I guess. And yeah, you're right. It takes some time. I think it's like one of those, remember those magic eye pictures that were popular a while ago? And remember looking at those things and thinking, I don't get it, I don't get it. And then you just shift your kind of mindset in a slightly different way and your eyes in a different way. And all of a sudden the picture becomes clear. I think it's a little bit like that because it takes a while just for it to sink in as to what this is all about. And then there tends to be a bit of an epiphany, I think. But that's not to say that it's an easy ride either, because it doesn't necessarily make life easier, but gives you a different perspective on life and helps you relate to life in a better way, I think. So in this series, what we're going to do is talk about mindfulness and life, aren't we? And how it can help in different life stages and different periods of life, different aspects of life. Like we're going to talk to your daughter, as you said, about mental health in teenagers, which is a problem on the rise, and certainly in colleges as well, and in the workplace. It's everywhere around us, and it's not just the fact that people are talking about it more, although that is probably something to do with it, but it's also that there are more pressures in life, perhaps, and that everybody's feeling the squeeze. There's so many things going on in the world that can get you down, and this is one way of countering that.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you. And I think sometimes I look at it and think, when I try and explain mindfulness to people, even my mum, I was trying to have a chat with her the other day, because she doesn't quite take it in the way I'd like her to initially, let's say. But I think it's worth looking at it as almost mindfulness and, like mindfulness. And so if you think of it as making dinner, like how you apply mindfulness to the thing is where the benefits come, isn't it? Now, I found it very difficult to get my head around mindfulness for a number of reasons to start with. One, because it was offered to my mum years ago, and it was sort of looked at as a bit airy fairy, like, oh, what's all that? You know, what do you want to do that for? What's all this, you know, sitting there thinking about your feelings kind of business? But also because it can be quite uncomfortable for a lot of people to be present and have awareness about what's going on. But I think is what it does is, like you said, there's so much in the world now that could drag us down and brings a lot of sort of dis-ease to us, doesn't it? Like that uncomfortable feeling, the fear of what's to come, whether it's financial pressure, getting older, looking after other people, you know, as we're going to be talking to Olivia next week, GCSEs, whatever the thing is, there's a lot of pressure in this world. And while we can't take that away, we can learn to strip back from it, can't we, and be with what's here. So that's what mindfulness is doing. And when you break it down into those sort of chunks, that's when I started to really understand that I could do it. I kind of thought, okay, mindfulness seems quite overwhelming. I don't want to sit with how I'm feeling. But when you break it down, which is what we're going to do, aren't we? I mean, we did the attitudes, which we really enjoyed sharing between us, how the benefits of those can help you apply mindfulness. And now we're looking more at life itself and situations. So whether that's school, the workplace, relationships, exercise, eating, you know, whatever it is, it can be applied, can't it? And this sort of intro into the first episode of this series is just sort of discussing what we're going to be doing and how it can be beneficial.
Yeah, I like what you said about the mindfulness and bit, and that it is something you apply to different parts of life. And also, yeah, to be told that you just sit with your feelings is a real turn off for a lot of people, because like you said, it can be uncomfortable, and people don't want to have to do that. But I think the key switch for me is that this thing changes the way you're feeling. So if you're feeling something about an event or something you're worried about, it kind of flips it round and changes the way you're feeling when you apply the mindfulness technique, which all it is being in the moment, accepting it, not judging it, you know, and having a bit of trust and patience that everything will unfold. It just allows you to stop tensing up mentally. And so you relax, and you end up facing most situations in a much better frame of mind, if not all situations in a better frame of mind, whatever they are.
Yeah.
So that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Why do you think, though, that people are so resistant to be mindful? Do you think it's that they think it's often more than you've got to do a lot more essentially than is required, or that there's just not a better understanding available for a lot of people?
I think it's the education of it and the lack of understanding of it. And I think people see if you go into your health center or something and you see a flyer on the wall and you see the word mindfulness or meditation, then immediately thoughts come to mind, and there's an inbuilt resistance there for most of us, as there was in my mind. I know that even now when I say the words "I meditate," it feels like I'm going to be judged by whoever I'm saying it to, because they're going to think, "Oh, you're some kind of Buddhist weirdo, are you?" You know what I mean? It's not like I play football or, I go running. It just sounds weird, even to me, and I do it. So I've got those prejudgments within me too, but I've just obviously learned to get over them because I know it does me a lot of good.
I know, but don't you think that there's in life, there's a lot of that safety in numbers? People, like, if you said in a pub, like I remember back in our very first episode of series 1, you said about that, like you've got to be a pretty brave man or something, you said, to sit in a pub full of blokes and say, I meditated this evening, because it's that it's not the usual thing. And I remember you saying it, and the image come to mind of that scene, and my dad come to mind, and the reaction, quite comical really, because I know he would be like, what? Ridiculous. But it is that whole safety in numbers, and I think mindfulness helps people individually have the strength to become who they are, be comfortable with that, and then that safety in numbers thing isn't as prominent. So mindfulness enables you that strength, and it builds that resilience inside of just being able to be who you are without the judgment and not having the worry, doesn't it? So that's what we're trying to tell people, is what mindfulness is doing, is the more you come back to it, you're building your own strength to just be who you are. You don't need that safety in numbers. So if you were to walk into a room and say, oh, I've just been playing football today, everybody, like you say, a lot of people do that, it's just a normal thing. But to say, oh, I've meditated today, not many people do that. And then is what happens, the more people that do it and the more people that say it, people become comfortable, don't they? And then it's acceptable. But you only need to accept yourself at the end of the day. All else outside of that, of course, you've got care and compassion for other people and life in general, but the bottom line is it comes down to what's in here, doesn't it? And that's what mindfulness is helping you access. So along this journey, we are going to help build that strength, I guess, in people, aren't we, in all different walks of life, and see how amazing these small changes can be.
You're right. It's looking inside, and it's giving you the confidence and strength to say, forget what anybody else thinks, is what you're saying, isn't it, really? And it might still not be comfortable to say it to other people. That's what you do. But I mean, that's life, isn't it? You know, I think there'll always be an element of people who just say, no, not for me. And, you know, they'll turn away from it, and that's fine. You know, it's, but I think what we're attempting to do here with what our communication out on this is to say, there's a different way of looking at it. And that's why in this series, we're going to talk about real life rather than just, I suppose in the last series, we touched on the theory of it, and then we used some examples of real life. This is more about the real life and how it supports the theory.
Exactly that. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to having some interesting chats with some different people.
Yeah.
As well as yourself, of course. And
yeah. Thanks for adding that.
No, it's all about learning, and we learn by teaching others, don't we?
We do.
We learn from others. So it'd be great for you and I as well, because it will only build our own understanding by having these discussions with other people.
Well, this is it. I don't think there's any such thing as a complete mindfulness expert, because I think everybody learns from each other, and you never stop learning. And I think that's the key point of the whole thing. You never stop learning. So there you go.
So hopefully everyone's going to join us for series 2, so we can all keep learning together.
Let's hope so.
And we'll be back next week where we'll interview Olivia.
We will indeed. Looking forward to it. So tune in for that.
Okay,
see you then.
Well, have a nice rest of your day.
Same to you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.